He's in California. That's Fox 2 KTVU's Tom Vakar here. Tom, what are you seeing there in the Bay Area as far as voters and people going to the polls today?
Well, I'm going to give you one example. This is Marin County, California. This is a place where one of the 9 Bay Area counties where about 250,000 people live. They've already received, as of last night in this county, 75% of the ballots, and they expect to have 90% by the end of the day. So 90% of the population here will have voted. Now, this is a very heavily Democratic place. In the voter rolls, the way it works is the Democrats are 60% of all of the voters here. Republicans, a small 13%, and 27% select no preference, but many of them end up going Democratic. So what's happening here is the same thing that's happening all over California. People are coming, they're voting in very, very large numbers. There seems to be a lot of motivation. Now, we happen to be in the county office of Marin County. Oddly enough, it was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, the famous architect, and they do have a voting system here and all over the county, but they're not far from here, about a quarter of a mile, there's a Executive Suites Inn, which normally has many, many long lines. A little bit more difficult to get into this building, but yet it's still quite busy, and they intend to be busy until 8 o'clock when the polls close. That is the situation, certainly true all over California, that's going on, but we thought it'd be interesting to come to one of the bluest counties in the bluest state in the union, and that would be Marin County, California.
And Tom, I'm kind of curious if, some parts of California we saw in 2018 in the midterms where Orange County, the Republicans there, were completely decimated. Are you speaking to anyone there, maybe voters who are undecided still, or who may be going for President Trump in the deepest, bluest county in California?
A couple of months ago, I was watching George Will on one of the news programs, and George Will asked this question, and I think this has been true for a long time. Who is on the fence? Is anybody on the fence? The reality situation, Californians, well, when you take, for example, Marin County, 75% of the people have already done their duty. The rest of them will make it 90%. It is true that California's demographics are changing. For example, Orange County, for a long, long time, a solid, stalwart Republican county, is much changed now. A lot more Hispanics moving into that area, a lot more people from other parts of the world, other parts of the country even, and as a result it has changed to a more bluish tint. It's not a completely blue county like it used to be a completely red county, but that is going on, that California is changing. It's always been a haven for people coming, not just for the American dream, the California dream. A lot of people think that's a very important thing to be a part of, which is why 40-some million people live here. But the reality of the situation is it is just one state that has 2 senators, the same amount as Montana, which is a very small state, and they will vote very heavily for Joe Biden, and that is just the way California has voted almost forever. Oddly enough, over the years, California has voted in several Republican governors, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, Pete Wilson, people like Duke Majan, who was a Republican, and they've had Democrats like we have right now with Gavin Newsom, but the reality is they tend to pick and choose between Democrats and Republicans for the governorship, but for most of the other offices, that's almost a solid blue ticket. That is the situation in pretty much all of California along the coast. On the interior, in the Great Valley and up in the mountains and stuff like that, it tends to be far more Republican. It's just that there are very, very few people living up in those areas compared to the coastal cities of San Francisco, San Diego, Oakland. These are big, big places. Even Sacramento, which is in the Central Valley, is big, but it's nothing close to what these cities are, and that is simply the situation in California.
And Tom, just lastly, I want to just put a scenario out there for those viewers and maybe those Californians who are watching. If Joe Biden is elected and he has his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, and she'll become, if she becomes vice president, what does the Senate look like in California? Are hearing any names being thrown out there that Governor Gavin Newsom could possibly throw out there and appoint to fill that vacancy, if that were to happen?
There's no doubt in my mind that Governor Newsom, who I've known for a long time because he was the mayor of San Francisco, he was on the Board of Supervisors of San Francisco was the lieutenant governor, so I've known him a long, long time. He very often keeps those cards very close to his chest, and the reason for that is that he knows exactly who he's going to call upon. There's several people that he might call upon. He knows who that is, but he's not going to say anything about it until he knows that it's a fait accompli, that he needs to do that. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, here's a person who was elected as supervisor of the city of San Francisco, and then she became the district attorney of San Francisco. Then she became the attorney general of the state of California, winning those 2 elections in her own right, and then won in her own right the Senate seat that Barbara Boxer used to have. So she's had quite a long career in kind of executive positions as a district attorney and in the legislative position as a senator. But who Gavin Newsom is going to put in there will no doubt be somebody who he wants to make sure will be a very high contender for that position when that election comes up, whenever that is.
All right, Fox 2's Tom Baker there in Marin County for us on News Now. Thank you so much, Tom. Hope to hear from you later in the night.
Sure.
All right, and I'm Andrew Kraft. It's about 4:30 here in Phoenix, Arizona, and 6:30 on the East Coast as polls close in just 25 minutes in several states, including Florida, in which we'll be following